What's up everyone, how are we doing today? I wanted to do a basic how-to slash combo guide for Cyber Dragons. These are tips and plays that every player should really basically know. First off, you got to figure out what type of build do you want to play. And if you're playing, say, Pure, do you want to break boards and take control of your opponent? I have a profile I just put up the other day on my page if you would like to go check it out. Or do you want to just fusion OTK, beat them down like crazy? There's also control styles you can play with the trap build, making waves around the community now. I will have my profile for that up, but I want to do some more testing because I don't want to just throw a profile at you guys without actually trying it first. Or do you even want to play Cyber Orcas? Because the deck is far from dead. It's still very playable. You just had to kind of change up your play style, and I opted to go for a going second build, so it kind of has more of a Cyber Dragon feel to it, despite cutting some pretty stable cards in Pure. But it definitely works. I destroyed my locals with it, and I've been doing pretty well online. Once you figure out what kind of build you want, it's time to test and try and see what works. So let's get started with the things that you should know. Starting off with, our best normal summon in the deck, Core. Usually we're going second, so say you summon your Core and they Solemn Judgment it and like negate the summon, so it goes to your graveyard. Now since the summon was negated, the search effect never activated because it happens on summon and the summon never happened, so you can banish it from your graveyard and special summon any Cyber Dragon monster out of your deck. Assuming that your opponent has a monster, that is. Moving on, I'm just going to ramble off a bunch of things here that I definitely think you should know if you're going to an event with Cyber Dragons. Cyber Repair Plant. If you have 2 or more Cyber Dragons in the graveyard, and remember all the babies are Cyber Dragon in the graveyard, so that happens quite frequently, you can activate both effects in sequence, meaning you activate it, you search out your Light Machine, and then you can shuffle back your original Cyber Dragon from your graveyard to make your machine dupes in your deck live. That way you are not inherently running bricks in your deck, just helping small consistency boosts here and there where we can do. I want to talk about Rev system. Most people only play one, and I've seen a lot of people actually not even playing it. I really think that it's overlooked because if you look at actually read through it good, it's not just a searchable monster reborn. It can summon from the hand, which actually comes up quite a bit for me in my Pure build, but also the monster summoned off it cannot be destroyed by card effects. Obviously Orcus being a big thing right now, they send, they don't destroy, so that's one downside. But Seeger, he can double his attack up to 4,200, and if he can't be destroyed by card effects, that can be a problem for certain decks to get over. So just really think that that's kind of forgotten about and almost overlooked at a lot of times. We all know Hers and Soldier and how they work together, but when do you chain link one Hers and when do you chain link one Soldier? So let's say you already have Core in your graveyard and you already have a Vanilla in your hand, then I would chain link one Hers and then chain link 2 Soldier, because if you want Hers to resolve, you make it chain link 1. More often than not though, you're going to have a Light Machine in your hand or a Light Monster in hand, so you would usually chain link 1 Soldier, chain link 2 Hers, but that's not always going to be the case. Just remember you can flip-flop them backwards and just kind of, like I said, whatever one you want to go through more, because Hers can get hit by Bell or by Ash Blossom since it adds from grave or deck, and both those cards happen to mention those as possibilities to trigger their effects. When we think of chain blocking, we also think of Fear right away. Summon Core, summon successful Fear, no Ash Blossom. But let's say a lot of big meta decks right now are using Appaloosa to get around Nibiru. So you summon Core, summon successful, chain link 2 Fear. Now Appaloosa has to negate Fear, not Core. So you can actually chain block for other things other than Ash Blossom. And if they choose not to negate Fear, then you just contact Fear and Appaloosa away for your Mega Fleet, the power-up's gone, and now you're free to machine dupe your core and then completely go off from there. Another fun interaction. Let's assume we have a target engraved for Naster, and we also have Lynn Kuriboh in the graveyard. We summon our Nexter, and your opponent activates Widow Anchor, Infinite Impermanence, Effect Failure, any type of on-field negate. So Nexter summons Chainlink 1, target Infinity, Chainlink 2, their Impermanence. You can Chainlink 3 from your graveyard, Lynn Kuriboh, because you're not locked into machines until it resolves. So then Kuriboh resolves first, Naster goes to the grave, summon your Kuriboh. They lost their target. They resolve basically they resolve without target, and then Naster's effect still goes through, and you get your free summon. Pretty much everyone should know if the activation's negated, you can discard a card and add it back to your hand. Keeping in mind, Ash Blossom, the main card it's going to get hit by, negates the effect, not the activation. But I actually had a True King Dino player. He ended with Ultimate Conductor, Tyranno, Nat Beast, and VFD. And I just kept, he went through like half his deck, and I just kept Cyber Emergencying and pitching a card and adding it back and pitching a card and adding it back repeatedly. And he was down to like 8 cards in his deck. And I had 4 different leveled Cyber Dragons in the grave, so I set Overflow. And then on his turn, I just blew up his whole field, and he had no deck left, no recovery. He basically decked himself out of the game, and then he just scooped. A card that I've almost cut so many times, but it's just so versatile, Foolish Burial. Let's say you have Core or your Nexter in your graveyard. You Foolish your Hers, and you get whatever one you want back to your hand. You can also, to start your play, Foolish a Hers right away, get your original Cyber Dragon, special summon it, and contact your opponent's board. You could Foolish your Core to banish it, to special summon your Naster from your graveyard, to summon your Seeger from your graveyard. Just so many ways you can use Foolish to just plus like crazy in this deck. You can use it just to fuel your other cards, your Overload Fusion that needs grave setup, your Cybernetic Overflow, your Cyber Repair Plant, your Rev System. So many ways that you can just abuse it in this deck. So I've considered cutting it so many times, but it's just so good. Going on to a spell we haven't talked about yet, our Searchable Fusion. There's 2 main ways that I use Cyberload Fusion. One being in the battle phase. Say we're at a point, we had like Core Dupe. I'll go over this combo actually, 2 ways in a little bit here. Say, you'd have a level 5 under your Nova. So we're at this point. Seeger boosts Nova to 4,200. Seeger then can attack a monster, dealing no damage, clearing out a monster, clearing out a defense position monster, just getting it out of the way. Cyber Dragon attacks for 21. Nova's at 42. It attacks in damage steps so that less things can respond to it. Banish your Cyber Dragon. Nova's attack then goes to 63, so you just swung for a free attack plus 8,400. And you have a Cyber Dragon banished and a Cyber Dragon on field. So you can Cyberload Fusion and go into Cyber Twin Dragon. So that's 14,000 attack right there, plus a free Seeger attack. The other way that you would use your Cyberload Fusion is, say you had to go first, and you have your grave set up for your Overflow. You might even have some cards out here, but your opponent has some monsters and back row. You Overflow, banish your monsters from the graveyard. You pop their monsters, and then not in the same chain, because Rampage has to be the last. The last thing has to be the summon for the popping back row. Otherwise, it'll miss timing if you chain it to it, because then it'll summon, then Overflow resolves, and then you miss timing. But say in the next chain, a little bit later in the turn, just before the end phase, because their traps obviously cannot activate the turn they're set. So you banish and pop their monsters, and then into separate chain Cyberload Fusion into Rampage, and pop their back row and just blow up their field while putting all your cards from your graveyard back into your deck. Really key point. This is probably something I get called out on by my opponents more than anything at a regional. I get judge called to me all the time for this. These three cards do not target. Overflow has no cost, so if they negate Overflow, you don't have to banish cards. But say you activate Overflow, wait for them to respond before you say how many you're banishing, before you target, before you do anything. It's just activate Overflow, let them respond. If they choose not to, then banish your cards, then target. Rev system, activate it, wait for them to respond, and then summon. So say they, I actually watched somebody at a different regional. He activated Rev system, and his opponent's like, "What's your target?" And then he picked a target in his graveyard, and his opponent DD crowed it, and they just played it like that. Which that's not the case. It does not target. So say you Rev system, and they just DD crow what they think you're going to summon out of your grave, and even if it's the only one out of your grave, and you have the original in your hand, you can summon it from your hand. So keep that in mind. They do not target though. Yeah, Overflow has no cost. Just mention that. Say Overflow would actually have to be on the field the turn prior. I learned this in the mirror tournament that we do in the Facebook group. So if you're ever curious, once in a while, about every few months, we like to run mirror tournaments. And they're really fun. You learn how to play around contact fusions. You learn a lot of different neat techs and ins and outs of the deck. A lot of things you don't learn about the deck in a regional because you're playing against other decks and you're using the deck you know how you know to use it. But when you see someone else playing the same deck their way, you tend to pick up on some things. But if Overflow is set and then next turn rolls around, you summon your core, and they do kind of like Lin Kuriboh and Naxter. They try to do it on the field negate. You can chain Overflow or Cyberload, and it removes core from the field. They lose their target, and you still get core's search. Doesn't really come up too often, but I have used it a couple times. Other things are just remembering to play smart. Don't overextend for the OTK all the time. Don't be a glass cannon. Play it smart. Break their board. If the OTK is there, by all means take it. Otherwise, just gain control of the game. Chimera Tech Mega Fleet needs a Cyber Dragon monster, meaning if they have There Can Be Only One or they have Gozen Match on the field, all of these, face down, they are still Cyber Dragon monsters. You can use your own monsters for the special summon of a fusion monster, your own face downs. You can't use your opponent's face downs, but you can set, so you set your core, your hers, your Naxter, your fear, and then you contact away their extra monster zone and your set card for your Mega Fleet. But otherwise, like I said, it's Cyber Dragon monster. There's been times where I actually had Nova on the field, and I used Nova and their monster just to get rid of it, and then I'd summon Naxter and bring Nova right back anyway. Then Naxter and Mega Fleet for Seeger, Nova, then Infinity under Seeger's arrow. So just little things like that that you notice once in a while, and then you just try to remember that you can do them. Seeger's power up, when he powers a card up, whether it's him or another card, battle with him does not deal damage. So like Grand Maju, when they just put out the 14,000 beat stick and then they try and swing right through you. I had a game I tested online. It's not always going to work because they do run Bigfoot that can remove them and stuff like that. But he had like a 14,000 Grand Maju, and I used Seeger's effect to double his attack, which he's still going to get ran over. But then I take no battle damage, and on my turn I ended up making Infinity absorbing Grand Maju, and it was just game over from that point. But otherwise, like Boral Sword, just being careful because when it cuts it in half, Boral Sword's going to have 5,100 now, not 40-50, but you won't take battle from that initial, or you won't take damage from that initial battle. And then Boar Load, that's another fun one. Say they have Boar Load Dragon and they attack Seeger, you know they're going to steal it. Activate Seeger and double his attack, because then they gain control of it, but it's still the same card, so it doesn't deal battle damage that turn. And then when your turn rolls back around, you just contact Boarload and Seeger away for your own Mega Fleet. Talking about Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon a little bit. When you mill any 2 light machines from your deck, you're more often than not going to mill your Hearse, and then either your Naxter or your core, because then hers will trigger and you can add it to your hand. There are rare occasions where you just Maybe your soldier got impermanence or negated, so you just want to get it out of your deck. You want to fuel your overflow. There are other instances, but usually it's going to be hers and one of those two. Nova or Rampage, I saw a lot of confusion about this when we gained a lot of popularity with Cyber Orcus doing well. You can activate it in turn 1 going first or in main phase 2 because the main effect is to send to grave, not to gain the attacks. So yes, you can do it main phase 2. Yes, you can do it turn 1 going first. If your Nova gets... Where are we with him? Nova. When you summon him, if he gets solemned, his effect, because it's from your possession, so it never hit the field, but he doesn't have to go from field to grave. It's just card's effect to grave. So from your possession, that includes extra deck, hand, grave, banish, pretty much everywhere you can think of. So you can summon, you can summon Eternity Dragon too. That's not a terrible option this format if you have a Fusion and Grave already. Speaking on Rampage and Nova while we're here, getting out of my notes here a little bit, but Rampage, assuming you have one of the 3 already in grave, mill the other 2. So say you have core in grave, mill your hers and your Naster. Hers, add your core back to your hand, and let's assume you have Soldier, Cyber Dragon, another level 5 on the field. Then you overlay for your Nova, detaching your Rampage to special summon your Naxter, and then Naxter can special summon your Rampage. You mill 2 more light machines, he can still attack because it's not once per turn in the milling process, it's a soft once per turn. But now you get a free Infinity 2 on top of it. You got your core back to your hand, you still got your Rampage and Infinity, so you're going to win that turn. Timing out Nibiru is a pretty big thing at the moment. I've seen a lot of Cyber Dragon players actually opt to not play Nibiru. I'm personally not playing it either. Kind of personal preference and room. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing it. It's a very good card. But you need to really time your Nibiru token out good. You want, obviously, it to have less than 4,200 attack or defense. Overflow is a searchable out for it. You can search out the Kaiju to out it. Infinity cannot absorb it, so keep that in mind. Don't just, okay, my opponent summoned 5 times Nibiru right away. Time it out. Like, look, if they have a bunch of monsters on board, but you know they're not going to put out a monster negate the next summon, let them go into a Link play because Links have 0 defense. Just kind of time your token out well. Outing Floodgates. We have our 2 links that we have at our disposal for our normal summons with Link, Kuriboh, and Almirage. And then if you can get any other machine on board, then you can go into your Nightmare Phoenix and out a Floodgate. They could obviously negate any of, like your Phoenix, they might negate it. So it definitely could be the end of the game, but there are outs, and I do highly recommend playing at least Nightmare Phoenix. I really like Unicorn also, just non-destruction bounce back to their extra deck more often than not. There's so much more to learn, but this is, I feel, a pretty good start on things that you should know if you want to play Cyber Dragons. So now what boards can we make? I often say we don't make boards, we break boards and try to end with like Infinity and maybe a trap or a hand trap if you don't OTK. But here are some things that you can do with the deck. Going first, the easiest way to just do this one here is core machine dupe, and then summon your core, grabbing your overflow. This is a combo that pretty much any going second build should be, as long as you're playing 1 overflow, any going second build should be able to do this should you get force first game 1. Machine dupe, special summoning your 2 Cyber Dragons, core for your Almirage, overlay for your Nova, and now we know we're going to have overflow and we only have core and grave, so we want to get another Cyber Dragon level and grave. So detaching Cyber Dragon, and then it doesn't matter, which one you're going to summon. You can just throw them in defense, attack, whatever position you'd like. Go into Infinity, Opponent's standby phase, all mirage effect. Now infinity cannot be destroyed by card effect. So it can't be destroyed by card effect. 1 negate, pop 2. It's not an amazing board, but at least it is a decent option if you time things out right. I actually completely stalled the Thunder Dragon player and then OTK'd him the following turn off of just pop 1, negate 1. He didn't open the best, and just knowing your matchups is the biggest thing when playing Cyber Dragons. We're not Salamangreat, we're not Orcus. We don't have these couple combos that you just go into whenever. You kind of play every game differently, meaning you can be against Sky Striker and play it one way, and the very next game you have to play it completely different, because we play every deck differently, and you play every game differently based on what their board state is. So a huge thing if you're going to play Cyber Dragons is just knowing the meta and knowing your matchups and how those decks work. If that board's not good enough and you're playing, say, Constellar Pleiades, you can go into double rank 5s rather easily. Easiest way being Core Dupe Extender. So, you know, your Hers, your Soldier, your Emergency. If you play 2 Rev systems, just Overload can actually be one. But keep in mind, Rampage is a dark and Pleiades needs 2 lights. So for this, we're just going to say Core Dupe and Galaxy Soldier. For 2 rank 5s, your opening hand needs to be able to summon 5 monsters, 3 of which are level 5. So in this case, Core is going to search out the corresponding card for Soldier. If this was Repair or Soldier, you search Emergency. If it was Emergency or Hers, you search Repair for your Soldier. So Core with the search then would be Emergency, so 1 monster, Hers and Soldier 2, 3, Dupe 4, 5, and we actually have 4 level 5s for this example, so it's a little overkill, but it'll work. Like I said, you summon your Core, you search out your Emergency, you use your Emergency to search out your Hers, Machine Dupe on your Core to summon your 2 Cyber Dragons, pitching your Hers. You don't have to do this right now if you want to keep your 3rd Cyber Dragon in the deck to keep your other machine duplications live. So Core and Cyber Dragon away to... I have Platinum Gadget pulled out for this video. Could also be a Clifford Genius. Now you can discard your Hers to summon your Soldier. Chainlink 1 and 2, Hers and Soldier. To keep your machine dupes live, you can grab him from the graveyard instead of out of the deck. Getting your Galaxy Soldier. Discarding 2 special summon. Overlay your 2 level 5s for Nova. Detaching to target your other level 5 Infinity and Pleiades. And depending how you opened, if you had the extra extender or overflow, you may even have overflow. So you could potentially have a pop 3, bounce, and a negate. One option to do that, saying you open sometimes too with like, can't think of the best example here offhand, but awkward hands that you might run into. And I've done this a few times. I'll have to start writing these weird ones down as soon as they happen so I don't forget like this. But I had another monster, and I don't know if it was just like a Veiler, another light monster, but I'll just throw Cyber Dragon here for the example. But sometimes you get these really awkward hands, and it'd be like Soldier pitch light monster to special summon and search himself out. And if you have an original Cyber Dragon engraved, whether it was just off of Soldier or not, now you can pitch Soldier to summon your Naster and bring back your Cyber Dragon, and then you can go into your Lin Kuriboh and then your Nova and Infinity still. So just being able to pitch your Galaxy Soldier to summon your Nexter, like I said, comes up very randomly, but nice thing to remember to get out, because you could just pitch your Nexter for your Soldier, but by doing it that way, you get the level 5 and your extra card on board. So More cards is usually not an issue or not a bad thing. If you want a better board than the 2 rank 5s, I guess it's kind of up to you if you think it's a better board or not. We do still have the VFD combo, completely playable. Two ways to look at it, but at the end of the day, there's certain cards you only need one Infinitrack Anchor Drill in your main deck, and your extra deck needs to run Infinitrack River Stormer, True King of All Calamities VFD, and Platinum Gadget. You can also run the Link 1 Infinitrack card. I think it gives like effect destruction protection also, but this is the bare minimum. These 3 extra deck and the 1, which we usually have a link to anyway, so you just swap out your Genius for your Gadget in that case. Core Dupe Extender, same as that last hand, would make the same combo. That's why I say it's kind of up to you on which route you want to go. But if you open Anchor Drill, you people might say it's like running a brick, but it's really not. Because, again, easiest way, I'm going to do Core Dupe for the example, because all the 3-card combos involve Core Dupe or Emergency Dupe. But you could swap out Dupe for like 2 extenders, because, like I said, I like to break this down to numbers. So if you don't open Anchor Drill, again, you need to be able to summon 5 monsters, but 4 need to be level 5s. From the last hand, we know that that's 4 level 5s, because you're going to search out Repair for Soldier. Soldier and hers is 2, Machine Dupe is 2, Core is 1, so 5 with 4 being level 5s. But if you open your Anchor Drill, you skip the step of going into River Stormer, so you don't need those 2 level 5s. So you actually only need to make 4 monsters, and 2 of them need to be level 5s instead of 5 monsters with 4. So just to show the full combo, we'll go without Anchor Drill in hand, summoning your Cyber Dragon Core, searching your Repair Plant to go with your Cyber Dragon Hers, Machine Dupe to get to your 2 Cyber Dragons. Now here you would overlay your 2 Cyber Dragons into your Infinitrack River Stormer, detach 1 material to add Anchor Drill to your hand, linking off River Stormer and Core to our Platinum Gadget, Cyber Repair Plant to get our Galaxy Soldier, Soldier pitching hers to summon or to get our hand. And to keep your Machine Dupes live, again, grab from the grave instead of from your deck. You don't have to, you can deck thin if you choose. Pitch your Cyber Dragon to summon your Soldier. Now you overlay for Nova, detaching 1 to summon a level 5 from your grave. Overlay Infinity. Platinum Gadget special summon your River Storm or your Anchor Drill. Anchor Drill's effect targeting Cyber Dragon. You add their levels together and they both become the combined level. 4 plus 5 is 9, so they both become level 9. And then you overlay for True King of All Calamities. It's a very, very oppressive board. It's just kind of fragile. Hand traps aren't super predominant right now in the game, so it might be a good time to play around with this and to actually go with this route. Just things to remember to play around with, to test out and see what works best for you. So them are some things that Cyber Dragons can do going first. Going second, like I said, you're usually going to play with what your opponent gives you and try and break their board. But some easy OTKs to remember, like I kind of showed you before with Seeger, Nova, and Cyber Dragon. Say we open our Core Dupe again. The whole deck revolves around Core Dupe. Everything's playable without one or the other. It's just so much easier with both. So summon Core, and in this case we're going to search out Rev System. Machine Dupe on our Core. Summoning 2 Cyber Dragons. linking off into Seeger, rev system to bring back Cyber Dragon, overlay for Nova, detaching since core is engraved, and then summon Cyber Dragon. And then, like I said before, you have 8400 plus your Seeger attack. But let's say you opened core dupe extender or core dupe Cyberload fusion. At this point, then you banish, and now you already did your 8400. You can go Seeger and your banished Cyber Dragon into Cyber Twin for an additional 5600. Usually, if I open that good and I'm gonna go for the Cyberload route, I'll actually go into Cyber Dragon Infinity instead. You do a little bit less damage, but you still deal over 12,000 damage, and you have Infinity protecting the rest of your play instead of sitting vulnerable. And the other OTK you're mostly going to go for is any way to get 2 Cyber Dragons on board, so pretty much anything in Fear, or special summon Cyber Dragon, normal summon any of them, and link them off for Seeger. Overload fusion into Rampage, Mill 2, and attack for 12,600. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope I didn't ramble too much. This is how to play Cyber Dragons for now November 2019. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys do well with the deck. Come join the Facebook group as always. If you have questions, feel free to leave them down below. Get a hold of me on Facebook. I'm usually pretty good at responding in a timely manner. Hope you guys enjoyed.